We start with kind of a big week. You were featured on ABC7. There was a news featurette this past, I think it was yesterday, or the day before, about the grant getting the body cams. The body cams are on the officers now. So how is that going so far? First off, how was the look in by the news? How did that go over? Did you watch their broadcast? How did they do?
Yeah, Commander Lally ran with it, as well as some of our people from our Technical Investigations Unit with Sergeant Bisegli. And they did, Phil Mikey, I think is his name, from Channel 7 came out, spent a few hours with us, rode with Sergeant Hartman, who's actually wearing some of the body cameras. So it's been a long process. People are because they've heard about it for so long now, they're like, doesn't everybody have cameras in Elgin? You guys have been talking about it forever, but this is such a big project, and it goes all the way back to, getting the grant, which was the $250,000 matching grant, and Christy and the team from Anna and Jim and everybody put in for this grant. Christy did a nice job writing it up, so we get the grant, and then now it's all the technology that goes with it. How do we store all the data? Where do we wear them? On our head, on our chest? A lot of those things. The law was passed not too long ago, so it now gives us guidelines, and so we're now kind of working off of that to see how it works in Elgin. But Commander Laddy's been doing a great job having informational sessions within the police department, because one of the things we wanted to make sure early on was that the officers understand what we're trying to accomplish here, and they do. And so we've worked with the supervisors, the officers, the union, plenty of informational meetings. Everybody gets what we're trying to accomplish, and like I've been saying, and Anna ran with it yesterday on the news, again with Sergeant Hartman. But it's just one more tool that we're going to have officers out there, and I'm happy to have as much video of Elgin Police Department that we can get, because I think we do it right as far as how we interact with the public. And so if we can capture all that on tape, I think it'll be very good. So we're having about 10 people testing about 5 or 6 different cameras over the past couple months, and our goal is by summer, we don't have a specific date, but sometime this summer we'll have the cameras actually rolled out, where officers are on a daily basis going to be assigned a camera and be able to have it all the time for themselves. And had a neighborhood meeting yesterday with some of the local clergy, and talking about concerns as far as can't officers, as we've seen in Chicago, just shut off the camera. If something that they don't want captured, they'll just turn off the camera. Well, there's actually rules with that. It's actually built into the law. We have policies within the police department. So while physically someone could just shut off the camera, there are consequences for that, and there are very strict rules on when a camera has to be on, when it has to be off, how long it has to be kept. If it's connected with an arrest or some type of crime, it has to be kept until that crime is done. So there's a lot of things we're still working through, and but it's an exciting time, and the news featured us and really kind of put us out there and said, there's only 3, I think it's Lake County, Chicago, and us, and we're on the forefront as far as really kind of getting through all the technical questions that need to be answered before we can just put them out there. Because it's easy to buy a camera and have it record, but storing it, retrieving it, getting it ready for court, having people, Freedom of Information Act, allowing people to FOIA different video. There's just a lot of things with it. So very proud of our team that's been working very hard on it. But sometime this summer we should have everybody out there with cameras.
Yeah, you answered a couple of my questions. Sounds like a lot of technical learning has to go into it in regards to storing the video and where to put it, and how to even wear the camera. Are you still in the test phase of choosing a camera with the 5 to 6 officers right now, or has that been done and now you're in your roll with it towards the summer?
No, we're still, we are still looking at which camera. We've got a couple different vendors we're still looking through. I think, I'm not positive, but I think most people are agreeing that kind of the camera on the chest is probably it's the most comfortable, having something around your face and your eyes, while that might be a better view and a better vantage point as far as what it looks like, because then it's really what the officer sees. As I turn my head, I see you, versus the camera constantly just looking straight forward. If in a position where I pull out a taser or a handgun, it can be blocked by my arms being up, and so you don't get a good view of the scene. But you kind of trying to balance what feels comfortable, what doesn't get in the way. So the officers, last thing you want is an officer to get hurt or doing something because they're fumbling with their camera, or the camera gets in the way of them going after some of their own equipment and things. So we're still working through all that, but I believe we're pretty close to identifying which vendor we want to go through, and then it's a matter of purchasing and getting them out. But we're really, the old adage, measure twice, cut once. With something this big and this expensive, we're measuring, 5-10 times, and then we're just going to eventually, once we go down a road of how we're storing the data, who's the vendor we're going with, we're kind of stuck with that for a long time. Changing platforms would be very difficult. So we're being very diligent, taking our time, and but I think at the end of it, we're going to have a lot of the questions answered. We shouldn't find many of the pitfalls. We'll still find some, but we should get most things answered in our test phase.
Yeah. You said only Elgin, Lake County, and Chicago have these cameras right now with the grants. Any other police stations contact you, ask you how it's going, if they want to implement it eventually, if they get a grant for Elgin or for body cameras for their police officers?
Yeah, we get a lot of contacts. I forward them to Commander Lally, who's really kind of heading it up. But yeah, we get contacted routinely on what we're looking at. We are also reaching out. I think there's also going to be a kind of a group meeting in Washington, all the people who got the grant, so that people can learn from each other. That's coming up. That I know our team is going to be attending as well. So yeah, we're learning from it. Other departments have had cameras, and we're one of 3 only that have the grant that we're purchasing with. But there are other departments, I believe, who have kind of sporadic cameras, or maybe even more so. But as far as a overall approach, starting with when the grant was released in conjunction with the new law, yeah, we've had a lot of people call us and find out how we're handling it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot more. You figure it's gonna be a lot more work on officers with all the technical sides, like storing video. Do they have to store video after their shift, or where is that kept? Do they have to go to a computer and store all video? And how long is video? Is that kept forever? I mean, can people always, with the FOIA, you said people can want to retrieve some of that video if they file an act for it.
Yeah, the law really spells out as far as if it's so the camera has to be on during a law enforcement type activity. If it's sensitive in nature, talking with someone inside their home, they can ask that it be turned off. Dealing with the domestic, dealing with issues with children. So there are some reasons that an officer would turn it off. Should be no extra real work on the officer, but definitely some more tasks. So like you said, downloading of the video. And that's what we're still trying to figure out as far as how we download it. I mean, not figure out like we don't know, but there's a few different ways we could go. But we have cameras. We've had them now for I think 10 years or more in the squad cars, and so we've got a very nice system where all we have to do is drive into the back of the station and it automatically downloads. We used to have to like plug into an kind of a little port area that downloaded it. Now it wirelessly downloads, and so our goal is to have something very similar where an officer would be able to just have something where as they come into the station it's automatically downloading. I don't believe we're there right now with our test phase. I could be mistaken with that, but there is some time that once an officer is done downloading that video takes extra time. So we're still trying to figure out how that's going to work as far as the additional time it takes, because that will be pulling an officer off the street to download video. So as we talked about FOIAs, it's going to be additional personnel. We're already very busy with getting a lot of Freedom of Information Act type of requests from media, citizens in general, legal counsel for people. And so we're spending a lot of time on that. But now with video, because that also can be very labor intensive, it's absolutely going to mean more personnel within the police department just dealing with that type of FOIA request. So as we're going through, it's why we're kind of starting slow with it. But yeah, there's a lot of questions that are out there. But each time we roll these out, and there's debriefs with the group, and they're kind of saying, not only like functionally if the camera's working well or not, but then also what are some of the issues with downloading it. Then on the back end with the technology that we have, do we want to store it in the cloud or do we want to have servers? There's some issues with speed, but then there's also issues with just how convenient it can be, as we all know, maybe with our phones and things, that the cloud is very convenient. And then what's the price difference with that? So we're really still just researching that, and we'll probably have an answer here in the next couple months.
Excellent. And if listeners out there do want to see that video featurette, I'm sure you can go to abc7chicago.com and go ahead and take a look at that if you have more questions that you want answered. But speaking with the chief.
Yeah, just before we move on that, and actually we're going to do a presentation at my next Chiefs meeting.
Okay.
So we're going to have all of our cameras there, some of the officers. Commander Lally's going to do a presentation. So, 2 Mondays at night at 6 o'clock, we're going to be at the police department. We're going to be going through our entire camera project. People can pick up the cameras, see what the cameras look like. So if you're interested, come to the next Chiefs meeting, and we'll be advertising that more on Facebook and with the media, but we'll let anybody come in and kind of see how it's working and see what these cameras look like. So stop by the next Chiefs meeting. I think it's in 2 weeks.
I have a question here. Chief, if looking down the line, do you see a disadvantage for the body cams in regards to the officers and for the safety of the officers?
Do I see a disadvantage?
Yes.
No.
Looking down the okay.
And in this day and age where,
I'm just saying physical bulkiness or whatever.
Right.
Just
right. No, I see what you're saying. They're very light. It's like having another kind of cell phone on you that clips on. So like might get caught in a seatbelt from time to time, be a little bit of a pain.
Okay.
Generally, just the pros for it now. With the officers and people can accuse officers of anything. Officers' words now put people in jail. Well, now sometimes juries want more than that. They want to see video of that. So we've all seen stories or something else where an officer wasn't truthful, and so that then has such a cascading effect for all future officers. Well, that officer lied in that police department not too far away. What makes me think I'm going to believe this officer? So we're always dealing with that public perception, the trust issues. So the upsides are so high that some of the technical issues or physical issues that might be a little bit of a pain or a burden really are overcome dramatically by just the positives of it.
Yeah, pros definitely seem
Thank you,
to
Chief.
outweigh the cons.
Yeah.